Naylor.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, we're now joined by the international best-selling author from Hertfordshire, Ken Follett, and John Froggatt, who 18 months ago recorded his first single and has become a semi-professional singer, singing under the name Joe Rose. And they've just put together a version of the Elvis song Blue Christmas, a charity record to raise funds for Home Start Hertfordshire. Thank you for coming in.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
So how did you meet Joe Rose? Because Joe is an accountant from Royston, and started singing about a year ago. Cut his first record in November of last year.
Well, we both support a Hertfordshire charity called Hertfordshire Home Start. And Joe decided to make a Christmas record to raise money. And
little did we know you were a mean bass player.
Yes, that's how I'm patron of Hertfordshire Home
We
Start.
had no idea when we thought about this. We didn't know Mr. Follett. Well, we knew you existed, obviously. We didn't realise quite the involvement with Home Start, and it came as a great shock, and it's been an absolutely wonderful experience. I mean, we did a charity single last year, the Elvis Presley Can't Help Falling in Love for Home Start in South Cambridge area, which is the Royston area where we are. And we thought, then we met Susie, who's Susie Moody, who runs the fundraising for Hertfordshire, and purely we thought, well, why don't we do something for you? And then from that, we found out Ken was involved with them. So there's no plan. This is kind of sort of just evolved organically. And then we met this wonderful, wonderful band group, which are really good. And it went from there, really.
So on this record, you've got
Blast.
Joe and Ken, yourself and Joe.
Yeah.
So on this record, you've got yourself, Joe, as the singer. You've got Ken on
As
bass.
the singer, did you hear that?
You've got two town councillors and a local networking group. Yeah.
Well, there you go. You see, we've got one town councillor, Ian Cole, who decided it'd be nice for him to get involved. He's a great guy, very well known in the Royston area, and he came along and did a line under the guide. And you have to watch the video, people, because it's hilarious with Mr. Follett guiding dear Mr. Cole on when to come in and when not to come in.
Well, Ian's got a good voice, you know, but he hadn't quite figured
Got the
that
timing.
when you're recording, you've got to come in exactly on the first beat of the bar. So he was kind of a bit too relaxed for it. So I ended up conducting him as he sang his oohs in the backing vocals.
It's very good. Yeah, it's very understanding and very supportive.
Well, let's play the record then, shall we? This is Joe Rose and Friends, and their rendition of the Elvis Presley song Blue Christmas, a song that's obviously been covered by lots of people, and it's a charity record to raise money for Home Start in Hertfordshire. There we are, Joe Rose and Friends, and Blue Christmas. And Joe's with us in the studio, along with the bass player and novelist extraordinaire, Ken Follett. You got just one line, Ken, I think, in there.
Yes, and when those blue snowflakes start falling, that's when those blue memories come calling. It's a pretty good line.
It's a good line, yes. Yes. It's a good rendition. It's a lovely, good song, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it's a great song. Blue Christmas is a lovely song. It's nice and easy. It's a typical Elvisy sort of, number. And I think it's been put together incredibly well by Mr. Lumsden at the Cream Rooms. And
which is near what, Stevenage?
Which is Dane End, which is kind of Buntingford Way.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a great job on that. He was very patient as well, in fairness, because there was about 1 million people in the actual studio when we were doing it.
Were there lots of takes?
Oh no, all done in one take. No, I'm joking. It wasn't. It seemed like
It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't that bad, was
like
it?
a couple of takes.
It wasn't.
I
that
did
bad.
2 takes on the bass. You did a couple of takes with the
Yeah,
vocals.
I think you did all right.
The
yeah.
girls who were doing the backing, who were very good.
That was
they
interesting.
did it quite.
They were
quickly.
fine. Yeah, it was good. We did it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And then tell us a bit about the video, because again, there are quite a lot of people in it, aren't there?
Yeah. Do you want to, or shall I keep
You
chatting?
go ahead.
The video contains most of the back office for Home Start in Hertfordshire, which was interesting. They had a great time. In fact, I think one of them said it was better than doing the bank reconciliation that she had to do when she got back. And I have a certain amount of sympathy for that, being an accountant.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Ian, we had Ken, people milling around. We made the studio very Christmassy. We all had silly hats on and silly jumpers. Well, some people had silly jumpers on, and it was great. It was great fun. So if you've never been in a recording studio, go in a recording studio and have some fun with it because it's marvellous. And it can make it sound really good as well.
You can download the track as a single, Blue Christmas by Joe and Friends, for £1.
Everything goes to charity. Every penny, all the costs has been absorbed by folk stock and the accountancy practice. So every single penny will go to Home Start. And in these dire needs now, where funding's been cut for Home Start, they need every penny they can get.
Well, you can download the single Blue Christmas for £1 to raise money for Home Start Herts, joerosesings.com, or go to folkstoprecords.com. But it's also included on a 4-track EP, along with White Christmas, Silver Bells and Oh Holy Night that you brought out last year.
Yes.
And the CD can be bought for £5. So that's a good deal.
Well, we thought so. We thought we'd add those on just to make it a bit more worthy, you know. Not that it needs to be any more worthy, because obviously, you know, the Blue Christmas alone is just fantastic. But it gives a bit more for your buck.
So, Ken, tell us how and why you wanted to get involved with Home Start and what the charity does.
Home Start, it's a worldwide charity actually, with a lot of local branches, and it helps struggling young families. And 2 reasons why I like that charity in particular. When a family needs help, the earlier the better. So before the children even go to school is a good time to help a family that's struggling. And secondly, when I was 19, my son was born. And I was a student, and my wife was earning £16 a week. We lived in one room. And although I don't want to tell you a sob story, actually we were deliriously happy, you know, we loved each other and we loved our baby. But I remember how hard things were. You know, I used to take the baby to the nursery in the morning, to 2 bus rides, and then it was a bus and a tube to college for me. Up early, all that, and I know how difficult things can be for a young family. And the idea of a charity that helps people who are in the sort of situation that I was in when I was 19, that appeals to me. I think it's really necessary and it's a really good thing to do.
Mm. So is all the money raised through fundraising, or are the grants available for it?
Home Start gets money from a number of sources. They apply to trusts. They used to get money from the government and they don't anymore. They apply to trusts, but we're involved in the type of fundraising, you know, where you put on some event. I also help by going to rich people that I know and saying, why don't you give Home Start £10,000? You can afford it, mate.
Mm. Because I think the annual budget that you required in just Hertfordshire alone is £300,000. It's quite a lot.
Yes, well, it's quite a big organisation. The Hertfordshire organisation was formed out of 6 local organisations. They came together to save money and to work together strategically better. And that was a very good idea. So it's quite a big enterprise. The volunteers, the families are helped by volunteers, and they work for nothing. So it's very good value for money. Of course, they need to be trained and supervised, but nevertheless, you get quite a lot of good work out of people who are doing it just because they want to help.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier that my wife used to do it when we lived in Shropshire, looking after 3 triplets in the home of the mother while her partner was out at work. You know, and you can imagine that sort of perhaps having 3 as opposed to 1, it was going to increase her workload, and she needed help. Just, you know,
Exactly.
simple help with looking after the babies, feeding the babies, maybe washing clothes, doing some washing up while she slept if she'd not had a good night. All those practical things.
Absolutely, and a lot of the families, all the families that we help have some challenge. There may be a disabled parent, for example. It may be a single parent, and all of these people. A lot of, you know, if you've got your mum living nearby, say if you're having difficulties, if you've got your mum living nearby, then you generally you get some help, you get advice, and your mum can often help you out. But a lot of people in our world today, their parents are miles away, or they might be dead, and a lot of people with a child end up a bit lonely and a bit friendless, simply because, as we all know who've had children, the baby is all consuming and you can sort of lose touch. And a Home Start volunteer who comes in and sees you once a week and says, how's it going? Is there anything I can do to help? Can be an absolute godsend for a person like that.
Just go through then how we can access your single Blue Christmas and also the 4-track EP in aid of Home Start Hertfordshire.
You can get it on my website, which is joerosesings.com, or on Folk.Records, which is on folk.records.com, and you can download it from there, and we hope everybody does. The good news is, I think with Mr. Follett's involvement, it's going to hit a lot of people, and I think there's already been over 2,000 hits on the actual teaser video, and if that's anything to go by, then I think we might be in for a good one.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Joe Rose and novelist Ken Follett. Really good to talk to you.
Pleasure, thank you.